Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central. CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And Rick, week 1, it is here. And actually, not only is it here, it is really here in the sense of, by the time you're seeing this video, we're recording this on June
Thursday,
the 4th.
July 5th.
June the 4th. June, wrong month, wrong day, Rick.
Listen, over in Winnipeg, it is now midnight, so it is June 5th.
Yes, but I haven't gone to sleep yet. The day doesn't count yet. And so we'll be uploading this just the morning of, but and we'll actually be, if you guys are paying attention for the game tonight, we will be live streaming Ottawa versus Saskatchewan. So make sure you check out our live stream of that. But we're finally here. The first week of the regular season of CFL football.
The one thing that I will say about that, we're both gonna have a good time because we don't give a crap of who wins and who loses.
I wouldn't say that. You'd
rather Ottawa win, and I'd rather Saskatchewan win.
I would rather see Ottawa smack the living kahunas out of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, as that is the way I would like them to start their season at home. But we'll have to see. So we got 4 matchups: Ottawa versus Saskatchewan, Toronto and Montreal, Hamilton and Calgary, and then Edmonton and BC. So, shall we get started, Rick?
Yes, we shall, my friend.
Okay. Ottawa, Saskatchewan. Got our, do we have the depth charts yet, Rick?
Listen. For someone who I specifically sent a Snapchat message to, check your inbox on Discord because I sent you the Snapchat. This guy goes, okay.
Wait, what?
Look above the link that you sent me tonight. You'll see 2 depth charts. Ottawa and Saskatchewan.
You're talking on... Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking on Snapchat. My apologies. You're talking Discord.
No, I said I sent you a message.
Okay, so we
Snapchat
only have tomorrow's game. Yeah, and then I guess we'll get them before each game. Okay.
Because Friday's game comes out Thursday, and then the 2 Saturday games come out Friday, the day before.
Okay, so we'll start with...
I do have the injury news for both Thursday and Friday.
Let's start with the injuries. We always start with the injuries. Start with the injuries for this game specifically.
Okay, so Nick Marner is out for the season.
You got to also specify position and team so for the people who are not aware.
You told me to start with Ottawa first.
Okay, so you're doing Ottawa. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Nick Marner, wide receiver, knee out. Okay. Eric Starkala, offensive line, head out. Peter Godbird, offensive line, hands out. Yes! If you didn't catch that reference, never mind. Zach Peleos, P-E-L-E-H-O-S.
It sounded like you were trying to say Caleros for a second.
No. He is offensive line, foot out.
Yep.
Niger Romick.
Yeah, I'm not looking at you right now. I'm looking at the depth chart while you're saying it. So if you're doing so, I can't see you.
Oddment. Out. Aiden John, defense line, knee out. Justin Howell, defensive back, foot out. And then DeAndre Lamont. Let's see here. DeAndre Lamont, they say, is questionable. However, he's not listed on the depth chart, so he's out. People, get your shit together. And Frankie Griffin, linebacker. And he is also out, and you list him as questionable. Going to the Saskatchewan side. Mm-hmm. This is Carter's favorite. Albert Awachi, fullback, hip out.
Yep.
Shane Bain Jr., wide receiver, knee out.
Sean Bain Jr., right? Is it not?
Yeah, Sean Bain Jr.
Okay, you said Shane. Sorry.
Oh. Jacob Brammer, offensive line.
Offensive lineman, yep.
They say questionable. He is not on the depth chart, so he is out. Charbel Dabriery, defensive line. Let's see. He is out. Philip Gagnon, offensive line, bicep, out. Jackson Ford, defensive back, hand, out. Lake Corte Moore, defensive line, hands, available.
Yep.
Nelson Lacombo, defensive back, hamstring, available. Sean McEwen, offensive line, knee, out. Tommy Neild, right wing, ankle, out. Braden Knoll, offensive line, head, out. Kasi Yika, defensive back,
Onyeka, yep.
knee, out. Shane Ray, defensive line, ankle, available. Nick Webby, defensive line, back, available. And CJ Avery, defensive line, ankle, questionable. Of which, whoever did that...
Whoa, wait a minute. You said CJ Avery. Is that not linebacker?
Let me finish.
Is that not linebacker?
The injury report, they list him as a DL, defensive line. In the depth chart, he's listed as a linebacker.
Yeah, but I remember him also as a linebacker, so I think that might be an error on the report.
Again, people that put out
on
this list.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, and this will be interesting because one of the people listed on the depth chart here is slot back Samuel Emelis, which according to the CFL website is 125 years of age.
So
fun fact.
The interesting thing, that for the Red Blacks is William Stanback is listed as the nationalized American.
Yeah.
And Dedman is listed as a designated American.
Yeah. Avery has a game time decision, by the way.
The interesting thing with Ottawa, any of their wide receivers go down, they have no backups. So they'll either be using either their fullback or one of their running backs.
I imagine Dedman goes in, would he not? I think Dedman's played some receiver before.
I mean, he could.
I don't think you want Stanback doing that.
Also, is Leone not an American or is he Canadian? They have him as a designated American. So how is the punter a designated American?
I don't know. Although one thing I had a question about is we were wondering with Saskatchewan who their punter was going to be. Do we know who this couch guy is?
Yeah, so he was on their practice squad. So they brought him up from their practice squad.
Okay, so they do have a punter.
Yes.
Okay. And then Mr. Yoshi Hardrick will be playing for Saskatchewan today. He spent the majority of last season injured, so he'll be in. So looks like a very good roster for Saskatchewan. Good lineup here.
So if you look at Saskatchewan's depth chart, there's two things to note. Micah Johnson and Saad, the reason why there's two different numbers is because they're also backup offensive linemen as well. Because we know Saskatchewan's offensive line is not the sharpest tool in the shed, and they are not bubble wrapped.
That's fair. So, looking at a bit of the matchups here, I think quarterback matchup we can probably safely say is
Brown and Harris
is going to be. I think probably Harris has the upper hand here, although Drew Brown, again decent. Actually, funny enough, Bo Levi Mitchell, his picks were posted by the CFL of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, which is hilarious because then he commented being like, I'm being clear, I meant going into the future. His picks at top 3 quarterbacks were I'm trying to remember I think he put Vernon Adams Jr., then Drew Brown, and then Nathan Rourke. And so everyone was kind of like, Drew Brown? And then he was like, I'm making sure it's clear going into the future. So it looks like a lot of high praise from Bo Levi Mitchell towards Drew Brown. And
but now the question is, can Drew Brown live up to the hype though?
Can Drew Brown live up to the hype when, if any of his receivers goes down, there's not a ton of backup before that?
So
it is funny seeing both teams already wrapped in bubble wrap, though, going into the first game of the season.
I mean, more Saskatchewan than.
Yeah, but Ottawa's got some too. Like,
not as many as Saskatchewan does, though.
Nobody has as many as Saskatchewan does. But Saskatchewan
was it you that was told me Amari Henderson was horrible for Saskatchewan last year?
I did not say that.
Oh, okay. So I read that somewhere that someone told me that he was horrible last year.
I did not say
That's
that.
why they didn't bring him back.
I want to make that very clear. I did not say that.
So Priester went from Sam linebacker with Toronto last year to a halfback this year. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And Adeleke is not playing because he retired, so they have a rookie at safety. Interesting.
Or you're talking a day?
Yeah.
Because you're not talking the combo. Yeah, no, I feel if I were Saskatchewan, I feel pretty good about this. Defensive line looking pretty strong. Offensive line looking pretty good, all things considered. Even with the injuries, still have some very, very nice pieces in there. Obviously, it would be a little bit stronger with some of the other guys that are injured. At the end of the day, as much as they're dealing with a lot of injuries, they're also not. And what I mean by that is, like, the only position I think they're actively hindered by in terms of production, in terms of positions for Saskatchewan, is offensive line. That's the only place where I think the performance will be a little bit noticeably worse than they would be at full health, as they had multiple starters get hurt and are out. In every other position here, I think Saskatchewan, despite having injuries, should be okay. Like, their main starters, their guys that are going to put up the majority of the production, that are going to play the majority of the minutes, are okay.
So the bet people are saying that the over-under on this game is 48.5, which would make it a 24-24 or 25-24 game.
So it's very, very tight.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's what they're predicting the total between both teams is going to be. I mean, you could have like a 30-10 or whatever it is. They're just saying that's what it would work out to be.
Now, has TSN or CFL have they released the people that do their public pick'ems? Because usually they have that.
CFL did
the old Dutch pick'ems, and
yes,
all 5 of them have Saskatchewan winning this.
Saskatchewan, yes.
I understand that sentiment. Saskatchewan has a lot of hype out of how they've done in terms of in their offseason, all the talent that they've brought in, kind of the areas that the holes in the lineup that have been filled, and more than anything, the guys they've been able to hold on to that were still very, very good from last year. And that's where I think Saskatchewan looks pretty good. With AJ Ouellette, they need to make sure that the running game gets going. I think that's going to be very, very important for Saskatchewan, as I think Ottawa has a lot more potential in the running game than they did last year. I think they got to shut down Eugene Lewis as well as Pimpleton. I think Pimpleton could have a really, really big year if he's able to stay healthy. I think the Ottawa Redblacks are getting slept on a little bit. I'm not going to lie. If you watched the 2-hour video we did on the East preview, call me a psycho. I had Ottawa coming out of that Eastern Conference in first place. As I think Ottawa looks fantastic. I think Ottawa looks very similar to the way they did last year. I think they were very underrated last year, and I think that they've made improvements in a lot of areas of their lineup, where there is a potential for them to have an upset in this game. Now, potential for upset doesn't mean upset. As Saskatchewan has there's a lot of pressure on Saskatchewan to have a really good year. Saskatchewan's they've really geared up, and I think there'd be something very, very sweet to Rider fans if they were able to go through the season, grab themselves a spot in the Grey Cup, and if they were able to somehow, God forbid, win it in the heartland of Canadian football, that is Winnipeg. You're damn right I'm saying that. And I know that'll piss some people off. But
the interesting thing, I don't know if you saw, is Lewis and Hardy are going up against Sales and Milligan. Unless they move the receivers around to the other side now and then.
If they move the receivers, I expect that Sales and Milligan will mirror that. Any pre-snap motion, I imagine Milligan stays with Geno Lewis. If you're Saskatchewan,
so it's Sales with Lewis and Milligan with Hardy.
Okay, but if you're Saskatchewan and you're playing, even zone or man defense, you're mirroring that. And so if there's pre-snap motion and they're going behind the line and they're moving, then you're either swapping zones or you are just staying with your man at man defense. So if I was Corey Mace, that's what I would be doing. As something like Geno Lewis is just way too big of a threat to have anyone other than your best guys protecting them. Linebacker core looking very, very good for Saskatchewan. Defensive line. I'm really curious to see how the Saskatchewan D-line is able to pressure the Red Blacks. I'm really curious for the linemen in this game. As with Saskatchewan, they're dealing with issues in terms of keeping them healthy. And so there's an opportunity for Ottawa to be able to pressure in that regard with pretty much the same starting four as they did last year. And then with Ottawa has arguably improved offensive line. However, their starting center is injured. Like, what was his name? It was like Stark something.
They have Ruby.
Ruby is in, week? But it's like Stark something. That was their starter last year.
Starkaza,
yeah. Or Starkazala, or whatever it is. He was their starter last year. So I imagine that's probably the guy that Ottawa had in mind of being their starting center. Ruby's playing in that spot. Now, he's also next to Drew Desjardins, so that does help, as I think he'll be able to mitigate some of that. But with Ottawa, I think there's faith in that receiving core. But in Saskatchewan, there's a lot of expectation behind this year. And so I think if you're Saskatchewan, it feels weird to say that you already need wins in the sense of it's only the first game of the season. It's a long season. But I think it's very important that Saskatchewan starts off on the right foot. And my prediction is going to be that Saskatchewan will probably win their with it being a home game. I think they're probably going to win their first game at home, as Ottawa also had some troubles. If I'm not mistaken, Ottawa had some troubles on the road last year. Isn't that right?
So, and also don't forget, the game is not sold out. When I checked earlier at 10 o'clock, there were still 4,000 tickets left.
Seriously? The home opener?
Hold on, let me double check.
Hold on a second. No
Matt
way.
Young CTV. Matt Young CTV. Well, okay, this was as of 11 hours ago, so it could have changed. But they had capacity at 28,586.
Here,
sold distributed 24,105. So that leaves tickets available 4,481.
I'm just gonna look at. I'm gonna go on Ticketmaster right now and just try to I'm not actually gonna buy tickets.
That's what Matt Young took a screenshot of Ticketmaster as of 11 hours ago.
Will Ticketmaster tell you how many tickets they've sold?
No,
it won't. Okay. If I'm looking here,
if you zoom out,
I'm not gonna lie, this is not good. So Ticketmaster.
I'm going to send you on Discord. So that was the one that Matt Young posted 11 hours ago. as to what was left.
Because I'm going to tell you if mine looks similar. Mine looks similar. I will say more have sold since then.
I'm sure there has.
But I would not say it is a substantial difference. I will say this is not exactly a good look because this is the home opener. This game you should sell out. As like if I'm just like again, and I'm not worried about Saskatchewan in the sense of that that they're not pulling enough to be successful. They obviously will be. But I don't know. I remember when Saskatchewan was selling out consistently. And so it's just a little strange seeing that. Capacity of Mosaic Stadium is 33,000. It can be expanded up to 40,000 for major events. I'm assuming that means on the field as well for something like a concert.
So here's the other thing is I was listening to a podcast earlier and they brought up a good point. If you're from Saskatoon, you're driving 2 hours to the game. The game ends at 9:30, 10. 2 hour drive home. It's now midnight. You got to get up in the morning. Who's going to want to go to a weeknight game?
And that's the problem with this game is that if this game was a Friday or a Saturday, I think they probably would have sold out. But Saskatchewan has always relied on support for a lot of fans outside Regina. And that's good. And they've done very well with that. And that model has worked for them because the Riders are a team that their fans will die for. Seriously. You go to Saskatchewan, you can find fucking anything with a Rider logo on it. I'm sure this Pepsi I'm drinking right now has a big fat Saskatchewan Roughriders logo right in front of that and is being sold in stores for like $18 a bottle. I'm sure they do that and make great money. But when you do a weekday game, it hurts a market that requires travel. And so I definitely think that's one reason why. I guess I just expected it to sell out anyway because it was the home opener.
The thing is,
but it is an Ottawa game, so
you can't even compare it to last week because they didn't have their first home game to week 3, and by then it was a Sunday, and then it's July, and kids are out of school for the year.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, despite not having 4,000 tickets sold. That still should bring them to about 28 or 29,000 in attendance. So it'll still be a very good crowd, despite it maybe not having every seat full. So I wouldn't expect a quiet atmosphere in Saskatchewan whatsoever. But all in all, Rick, I gotta go with the Riders here. Not out of me wanting them.
I've already put in the spreadsheet Saskatchewan because that's what I have for our pick and league.
Yeah, but I don't see Saskatchewan losing this game with kind of all the pressure that they have. As much as I think Ottawa is going to have a great season, I don't think it'll necessarily start with a win. Which will bring us to the next matchup, the matchup I actually have featured behind me with the flags, which is the Toronto Argonauts taking on the Montreal Alouettes
of the East final last year.
Yes, the East final rematch. It's funny. A lot of people have all 5 of the people on the pick'ems have Montreal in this game, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I still have high hopes for the Argos this season, despite what they have lost. I think there's a lot there. I think that they have a lot of depth that didn't necessarily always get the field time last year because of how well those starters were doing. That I think will still do very well. I think if we're looking at Montreal, I think it was Montreal we were talking about yesterday about a ton of guys that will be starting for them that are rookies. Is that not wrong? Like, is that incorrect?
I remember saying something like that.
I remember this being a repeated thing where we're kind of like, okay, wasn't on the team last year. Rick searches him up. This is a draft pick coming in, and not that draft picks won't turn out, but usually it takes it takes a little bit of time for the gears to get going, and so I expect that will probably be what happens with Montreal, as I think even with Chad Kelly out. Toronto is still very good. People need to remember, Toronto, without Chad Kelly, won the Grey Cup. Winnipeg made mistakes in that game. Yes, they did. But they were still the best team in the East, playing the best team in the West. And the Argos still won without him. Without Chad Kelly. And Nick Arbuckle is starting after, and he'll have, and he'll be starting this game as a Grey Cup champion, a Grey Cup MVP, starting this game against a quarterback who played well last year. We got to give Davis Alexander credit where credit is due. As Davis Alexander in the games that he went in showed that he looked like he was going to be a proper successor to Cody Fajardo. The question is, what if he would be ready right away? And I think that they pulled the trigger on him a little early. Not necessarily a bad thing, but very much throwing the kid in the water and seeing if he sinks or swims, not giving him any life jackets. So we'll have to see here. But yeah, I want before I make my pick, I want you to
give you the injury list.
Give the injury list and then give your thoughts.
Okay, just let me go back and select this because I didn't have it open, but then I closed it. So, this one, just FYI, this one is scheduled for 47.5 points. So Toronto has John Bozzi, offensive line knee available. Brian Cox Jr., obviously, he has Achilles. He's out for the season. Chad Kelly, leg out. He's going to roughly probably be on the one game for a couple of weeks. Here's a big one. Janarian Grant, right wing ankle, out. So I wonder who their returner is going to be.
Okay, now that right there is an injury big enough to make me rethink a pick.
Winston McManus, linebacker knee. He started limited on Monday, but he had 2 full practices, so he's available. And Kevin Mattal, he's right wing hamstring, limited Monday, full Tuesday, Wednesday, he's available. And then Sagi Dockstader, non-football related offensive line, and he's available. Going over to the Montreal side.
Okay.
Mustafa Johnson, defensive line, knee, out. Trayvon Mason, defensive line, shoulder, out. Dion Ruffin, defensive back, hamstring, out. Joshua Archibald, who came over from BC, defensive line, hamstring, out. Antonio Moultrie, defensive line, back, out. Vincent DeLezzi, defensive back, ankle out, and Stevie Scott, running back, knee out. So it looks like they're going to be starting, because I don't have the depth charts, but from what I've read, Sean Thomas Erlington is going to be starting for Montreal for running back tomorrow.
And this is the interesting situation where
Friday, I should say.
But both teams cut their starting running back from last year.
You know what's interesting, though, that you bring that up? So, if you go and watch, I know I'm doing a shameless plug here, X's and Argos podcast with JB.
No. That's not a shameless plug because you're plugging someone else. It's a shameless plug if you're plugging yourself.
But anyways, what I was saying is that they had John Murphy on the other day, and he was explaining why they cut the players that they did. And one of the reasons John Murphy said that they cut Kadeem Carey is because you have to remember, Kadeem Carey's 32. He's over 30. And they figured with what they saw that they just have
Kadeem Carey
younger running backs. But at the same time, he also said that if the running backs do horrible, that's not going to stop them from coming back and saying, okay, we're going to bring you back and you're going to be now a starter after these two guys, after a couple of weeks, couldn't get the job done.
Kadeem Carey would want himself a paycheck for that.
Oh, I'm sure they'll have to do some type of paycheck, or go with Walter Fletcher, who's cheaper.
Yeah.
Or
Or
Kevin
go with
Brown.
Kevin
I have
Brown.
no
It's
idea.
not like Kevin Brown was terrible in years prior. But but yeah, no, I think overall, who do you have for this game, Rick?
Really, you're gonna ask me that question?
Yes.
As a Ticat fan, I feel offended that you would ask me that.
It's who you think, not who you want.
Who I think and who I want, and I'm voting with my heart, is not Toronto.
I know you don't want Toronto, but you think Montreal. Genuinely.
Yes.
Because I don't want
Yes.
Saskatchewan, but I'm picking Saskatchewan because I think they'll win. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Good. I think Toronto might sneak an upset.
Ooh.
I got Toronto on the upset alert. I think I'll put it this way. Even if the horns were allowed in Montreal, I think they might be silent on Friday regardless. But yeah, no.
So the betters do have Montreal at a 4.5 favorite.
Oh, I did. I looked. The odds the odds in the first game are Saskatchewan up 61% to Ottawa's 39.
You went on Peckham's.
On BetSnap.
Nice.
BetSnap, which actually formerly did a sponsor of this show, funny enough, years ago. But then for the Friday game, they have Montreal at 64% and Toronto at 36%. And then that will lead us to our third game of the week, which is
This
Hamilton
is going to be an interesting one.
versus Calgary. Rick, let's
the interesting thing, because I was actually looking at the numbers today, because someone tried to tell me that Bo wasn't playing in this game last year when he did. So this is the first game last year that Bo threw for 300. However, Rene Paredes had 6 field goals. That's how they got their points last year. It was 6 field goals.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Mayer still threw two touchdowns, but still.
Yeah. Do you want to know the betting odds for this game?
Yeah, they have Hamilton's the favorite.
Hamilton is the favorite with a 54% to a Calgary 46%. So this Hamilton is the favorite in this game. However, this is the closest of the games this week.
They're also saying that the total points over both teams combined is 52.5. So this is going to be an ugly game.
I mean, you got Vernon Adams Jr. versus Bo Levi Mitchell. I understand the reason for that.
Unless, even if you look at last game's week 1, it was still 56 points.
Yeah.
And that was a 32-24. Mind you, things have changed.
So let's start with Hamilton is the away team. Let's get the Ticats injury report.
Okay, Ticats injury report. We have Lords Woods III, defensive back, did not practice 2 days. We're still, chances are he probably won't practice the third Thursday because he's on the 6th game.
The third.
Drew Wolodarski, right, or I was going to say right wing, but wide receiver. Ankle,
no, not Wally.
Limited, did not practice, so chances are he will be on the 1 game.
Prayers for Wally.
Reggie Stubblefield, defensive back, knee, did not practice both games, so he'll be out. Robert Panabaker, defensive back, hamstring, did not practice 2 days, will be out. Luke Brubaker, DL, shoulder on the 6th game, and then Suriman Bogago, defensive back, did not practice. So, if I pull up my numbers, give me 1 second here, that should mean that on. So that means that we'll have Peters, Talbert, Cachatonis, Amos, and Moxie across the back. Depending on who they have for the, because I'm just trying to think here. So Stubblefield would be on the one game, so we'll take him off. Bogego, take him off. Who else did they list? Panabaker, Drew Olatarski. Oh, okay. So chances are, if they keep Wilburn and Cole, you'll have those two at will linebacker, Wilson at middle linebacker, and Brandon Dozier, former Stampeder, starting at Sam linebacker. You'll have Julian Hauser on the left defensive end, former Stampeder, with Julian Hauser, Fox, and Garbutt. Again, this is just off my depth chart, so I don't know what Hamilton throws out on Friday. But then you have Lawler White on the left side, and then Smith, O'Leary, Orange, and Bridges on the right side.
Did you give out the Calgary injury report?
Oh, no. We go over to the Calgary side. Anton Hay, defensive back shoulder, did not practice 2 days, so I assume he's out. Malik Henry, I seen reports today that he's out until at least Labor Day. So he's on the 6th game. He's wide receiver with a knee. Jason, John Vare, Messier, defensive line, shoulder. Oh my God, the way that they spelled shoulder is SHOLULDER. Like, people that write this out do not know.
Can you say that again?
Okay, they spelled shoulder SHOLULDER. They put an extra L in there.
It's like Salamander.
Like,
Salamander.
I'm sorry, but people, I know I get made fun of for my spell checks, but like, come on.
No. You don't get made fun of for your spelling. You get made fun of for your pronunciation.
No, there's a certain person that makes fun of me for my spell checks.
Oh, well.
We won't mention his name.
I don't even know who it is.
Really, Carter? Who's my sidekick?
Does his name rhyme with Bonner?
I plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth. It's all right,
anyways,
though. It's all right. We love him. He's great.
Bentley Sanders, defensive back, hamstring. Did not practice 2 days, so most likely he's out. Kyle Sexlid, offensive line, tricep. Did not practice 2 days, so most likely he's out. Kalen St. Clair, defensive back, hamstring. Did not practice 2 days, so I'm assuming he's out. And Charles Wiley, defense line, Achilles, limited 2 days, so it's still a possibility that he could be questionable, but we won't know till Friday when the depth charts come out.
Yep. So, if we're looking at a head-to-head on roster,
yes.
So quarterbacks here, Bo Levi Mitchell versus Vernon Adams Jr. That right there,
you could go either way.
We might be looking at the two best in the league currently, in terms
active,
in terms of consistent,
not injured,
active. As I love Zach Caleros, I will always have Zach Caleros very high, but I can't deny that Bo Levi Mitchell had a better year than Caleros did, despite the success that Caleros had. And Vernon Adams Jr. was on fire last year, and his season got interrupted by both injury and BC Lions mismanagement, as I believe they did not handle that situation properly. I don't think they did. Not saying that it's the worst way they could have handled it, but we'll see. But I think I can't give an advantage either way, honestly. I think you might have Bo Levi Mitchell's a guy who may pass for more yards, but also again Vernon Adams Jr. is a little bit more mobile than Bo Levi Mitchell is. He's gonna run outside the pocket, grab a few yards that way, a little bit more than Bo Levi Mitchell would. So they're not the same type of quarterback, but in terms of the impact they have for their team, I think we're looking at roughly the same thing. Now, is Bell your starting running back, followed by Johnny
He
Augustine?
is. He is.
And then for Calgary, they got who they got as their.
They got 5 running backs.
Who's their starter running back?
I want to say Mills, followed by
Dedrick
Antwi.
Mills. Yeah, no, it's definitely Mills. Definitely Mills. Sorry, my apologies. Should have known that stupid thing. Yeah, I think Mills maybe has a slight advantage over being like spending a full season as a starter, whereas I think Bell was kind of sometimes a starter for them last year, sometimes not. But I think as much as maybe Calgary has a slight advantage there, I think it's slight. However, when we go to the receiving core, as much as I like Calgary's receiving core, this is firmly a Ticats advantage. Shamar Bridges, Kenny Lawler,
just
to
give my 2 cents on the Mill versus Bell. In 8 games last year, Bell had 94 carries, 625 yards, 6 touchdowns. Okay. Mills played 13 games, 163 carries, 923 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yep. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Touchdowns is a deceiving stat, though, because if you think about it, are you going to say that Brady Oliveira wasn't a good running back because he didn't get very many touchdowns? But in terms of
I'm just
yards,
saying that Bell had more. Bell had a more average.
Oh, did he have a higher average? Okay.
Bell had 6.6. Mills had 5.7.
Okay. So there is that.
I mean,
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyways,
that is close. Although, to be fair, when you play more games, the likelihood that your average is a little lower is a little higher. But overall, I don't think it's a massive difference. Like I think the difference between, even if Calgary is a little bit better on average at the running back position, or even if Hamilton is a little bit better, I think the difference is relatively negligible. In the sense of that, if one of them shows up to play and the other one doesn't, it doesn't matter which way it goes. You know what I mean? True. Whereas when we look at the receiving core, Ticats have a clear advantage. Even if Hamilton is playing at half of their game in the receiving category, I think they still maybe beat the Calgary receiving core. Seriously, Hamilton looks freaking dangerous at the receiving core, especially knowing that you still have that same quarterback who threw all those wonderful touchdown passes. Now you got Kenny Lawler in the mix. And I'm a big fan of Kenny Lawler. I'm also very sad that Kenny Lawler is no longer wearing the blue and the superior gold. And however, I know that he has moved on to other endeavors.
Yeah.
And I
Black
expect...
and gold?
Yes, but the blue and the superior gold, as I will call it. It's like the same color, but he's a dangerous player, and so I expect that he'll do good things in Hamilton. For Calgary, Reggie Bagleton and crew, as it usually is. I think Jalen Philpott, you want to get him going a bit more than he has in prior years. He's talked about wanting to be as good as Tyson. I think you should give him the opportunity to showcase that.
I will say this, and I don't mean any pun intended for Jalen Philpott. This will be your 4th time in the league. If you don't have a good season this year, would you consider him a bust?
Like what? How high was he drafted?
So he was drafted 5th overall in 22.
Ooh.
He had 14 games. He had 317 yards in 22. He missed all of 23 with an injury. And then last year he had 659. So if you are a top 3 wide receiver on a team, you got to be at least pushing 800 yards.
So here's my question. If let's just think about hockey for a second, just to draw a parallel. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Is Alexis Lafreniere a bust?
Yeah.
You'd say so? Okay, because I'd say it depends what your definition of a bust is. If a definition of a bust is only a player that goes exactly to where his potential looked like it was going to be in terms of being a top star, then I'd say yes, Jalen Philpott would be a bust. But the definition of bust for some people would be that not only are they not where they were expected to be, there is not a suitable role they have in the lineup. So for example, someone who wouldn't be a bust under that definition would be Alexis Lafreniere. As much as he's not the first line player that the New York Rangers would thought he'd be, he's found himself a spot in the lineup in which he can produce and be something of value, even if it's not what they had hoped. And in that, and a definition of a bust under that definition would be like Christian Vesalainen or Nail Yakupov in terms of guys that aren't even in the National Hockey League anymore.
Well, yeah.
So I'd say in terms of Jalen Philpott, I think at least what I believe is a bust. Because I think, in my opinion, it's not as simple as bust or not. I think if you want to talk about has met expectations and is like a gem and plays the way that they should, you have them meeting their expectation. I don't see him meeting that expectation if he doesn't hit it this year. However, bust for me is if you haven't even found yourself a suitable role in the lineup. I think Jalen Philpott will lie somewhere in between. Not horrible and useless, but also not where they were really hoping he'd end up.
No, but I mean, even if you're a top 3 wide receiver, you should still be able to put up at least 800 yards a season.
Exactly. So maybe he's not a top 3 receiver. You know what I mean? Top 3 receiver is the expectation to make him quote unquote a gem. But I don't think anything less than that is necessarily bust.
Okay, so let me ask you this, okay? Just a follow-up to your question. So you'd have Reggie Begelton 1, Dominic Rhymes 2. If Jalen Philpott's not your third one, who is it? Tevin Jones?
Someone's got to step up. We'll see. At the end of the day, though, we should make our prediction, though. We're pushing on 50 minutes, and we're on game number 3. We still got one more to go through, my good friend. Rick, who are you picking for this game? Rick is going to picking will be picking the Hamilton Tie Bombers. And for me, I will also be picking the Hamilton Tie Bombers. I think the Hamilton Tie Bombers have a good chance of winning this game. Which brings us to our last game of the week, Rick, which is the Edmonton Elks versus Snoop Dogg. I'm kidding. Versus the BC Lions, featuring the
funny thing
starting
about this game is
of Snoop Dogg. Yes.
The funny thing is about this, I could have read it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the last time 2 Canadian quarterbacks went head-to-head in the first week was BC Lions and Edmonton in the 1960s.
The last time 2 what?
2 Canadian quarterbacks went head-to-head in week 1. Was back in the 1960s between BC and Edmonton.
And where did you find this?
Someone had posted it on Twitter earlier today. And
seriously?
Yeah, I wish. Let me see here. Time to Canadian.
I don't know if I believe that. That seems so outrageous. Seriously?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I take that back. 1968, and the first time that 2 Canadian pivots had gone head-to-head in week 1 in CFL history.
That was the first time. That was the first time.
That was that was yeah, that was the first time. But still, that's a long time.
But that's not the most recent time, right?
No, that is the last.
Seriously?
Hold on, you got to remember. I'm not saying all of season. I'm saying week 1.
I know, but still, it's like it's been 50 years. They haven't found 2 fucks to play against each other from Canada for week 1 in that long?
I guess not.
Oh my god!
I mean, let's be realistic. Who
Oh.
was the last Canadian quarterback that was in the CFL besides Nathan Rourke? Brandon Bridge, I think, for Saskatchewan. Matt O'Connor for Calgary. But they wouldn't have started head to head.
I
like, I'm
guess.
speechless.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think back. Like someone like Damon Allen, he's not Canadian. He's American.
Yeah. While you sit there and take in all of this nonsense news, I'm gonna go over the injury reports.
Yes.
So Adam McClare, linebacker, shoulder, did not practice 2 days, so chances are he's out. Jarrell Broxton, offensive line, non-football related, did not practice 2 days, so I don't know. It's non-football related, so I don't know about that one. Trey Crawford, defensive line, leg, did not practice 2 days, so chances are he's out. David Foucault,
Yep.
Offensive line, leg, did not practice, so chances are he's out. And weren't we talking about offensive linemen for BC in our West preview as well?
What did you say?
I said, didn't we talk about like the BC offensive line?
Yeah, we talked about how they were a
West?
disaster.
Well, we already have 2. Terrace Gagne, linebacker, hip, limited. Marcus Moore, defensive line, head, limited. Tyler Packer, offensive line, shoulder, limited. Gary Peters, linebacker, leg, limited. Maxime Royer, linebacker, hip, did not practice. Anu Yuna, offensive line, ankle, limited. And then Josh Woods, linebacker, knee, did not practice twice. So, I mean, that list is almost as bad as Saskatchewan's.
Yep. And it's really problematic if you have offensive linemen injured. You want to know why? Because you're playing the Edmonton Elks. And the Edmonton Elks spent the money. Everybody's got a price. It's the $1 million championship that is on board the Edmonton Elks because they spent the money for a defensive line with Mr. Jared Brinkman and Jake Serezna. And the BC Lions are coming against them with half of an offensive line. And so this could be a little bit of an issue. And this is also dangerous because this now means that BC has to rely on their passing game and not the rushing game. Even though James Butler is good, James Butler is a smaller human being than Jared Brinkman and is also, fun fact, a smaller human being than Jake Serezna. And so I see that being an issue. And this also doesn't even factor Nick Anderson into the mix, who was leading the league in tackles last year. And so I see this as a problem for BC offensively, as I think Edmonton's defense is really, really damn solid. And so even with Rourke and expecting him to have a better year, even with them having a decent receiving core, you're going to have to rely on that for this game. And with that, that means that this BC offensive line is going to have to try to hold up as much as possible against basically a freight train of a D line. And although the one area where I think BC has a clear definitive advantage is I have no idea what to expect from Edmonton in the kicking field goals department, as they're going with a bit of a different route. No Boris Beatty, no Dean Faithful. Who are they going with now?
Vincent Blanchard.
And so we'll have to see how that goes. Let me see his stats.
I honestly don't even think he played in the league last year.
I don't think he He played one game for Edmonton in which he had no kicks. Or actually, no, sorry. He had one kick. It was a 19-yarder. It's not a fucking sample size.
He ain't no Sergio Castillo, that's for sure.
Yeah, no. He kicked a 19-yarder, which tells you nothing. As I mean, it tells you that you shouldn't immediately throw him in the trash. So, because if he missed the 19-yarder, then might as well try someone else.
Old Yella.
Yeah.
Yella.
That would mean that you're gonna be old Yeller in that guy. You'll be axing him right back down to Utah or wherever the fuck he's from.
So Edmonton's injuries are Noah Curtis.
He's from he's from Quebec. Whoops.
Did not practice.
I feel bad.
Skylar
I probably pissed off
Griffin,
the French.
tight end, knee, did not practice. And Oliver Muwambi,
Oh yeah.
linebacker Achilles, did not practice. But that is it for Edmonton.
Rick, this is it's funny. This is the only game that the official people, like the people at the CFL doing their pick'ems. This is the only one where they were not in agreement.
Didn't they go 3 for 2?
As Jamie and I and Matt Cause went for BC, but then Pat Steinberg, Christina Costabile, and Vicky Hall all went Edmonton. And
What did your app say?
Oh, the betting app?
Yeah, what did they
The betting
say?
percent is strongly in favor of BC, 69% to 31%. But
Let me check this out because I'm curious. What does
this is difficult because with BC, like, home field advantage is a thing. It is.
Wow.
It totally is.
So Old Dutch Pick'em is 81-19 in favor of BC.
And I don't know because, again, it's like I see that offensive line of BC and that defensive line of – I see that Edmonton defense being a problem for BC. Like, Edmonton's defense looks good, man.
Defense looks good?
Edmonton's defense looks really good.
Oh, Edmonton. Well, I already know who I picked because I've already put it in the spreadsheet.
What have you
I am going with the double E.
You're going with the Edmonton Elks? I'm
going with the Edmonton Elks.
I am also going with the Edmonton Elks. As I think BC can win this game. They're at home. They got Snoop Dogg playing his little show beforehand. You're gonna have basically around 60,000 people in attendance for this game. As that building is going to be packed for Snoop Dogg beforehand.
Did you hear the joke earlier?
What?
By the end of the concert, that place is gonna have us air pollution quality reports, so the game might not kick off in time because of Snoop Dogg.
Oh yeah. No, this is BC. They're used to the weed. They're used to the weed. Honestly, I think Snoop would love it over in BC. There's a lot of weed out there. I think he'd really enjoy it.
So the only game that we do not agree on is the Toronto-Montreal game.
Yep. Every other one we are in agreement on. So
we could be as bad as 0-4. Or good as 4-0.
Well, one of us will have at least one correct prediction this week.
That's true. That's true.
No matter what. We might get everything else wrong.
Oh my god, could you imagine if I started 0-4? That means the Pick'em League.
That means that I would start 1-3. That would be bad for me too.
So, question, the Pick'em League that we're in, did you use the same picks or did you pick different?
I have not submitted my picks yet. I waited until we did this. You have till the start time of the first game of the week.
Okay, well, I've already submitted mine.
So I'm literally I'm going to send him a message right when we're done recording this, being like, these are my picks. Because I picked them while we're doing our video, so I factor everything in. Yeah.
Oh.
So that way, if you go through injuries, I factor that into my picks.
Oh.
Rick, I plan this shit.
Wow.
But anyways, those are our picks for the week. Let us know in the comment section down below what your guys' picks are. Week 1 preview, starting out at an hour. Let's see. We'll see if that's a reoccurring theme of this season. But if you guys watch us on YouTube, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And if you listen to us on Spotify, make sure you guys leave us 5 stars. We very much appreciate it.
And make sure you have the popcorn and sitting and watching us
as we live stream
tonight.
Tomorrow. Or tonight, yeah, just tonight when this video is technically going up, yeah.
And also, I will be live streaming on Saturday as well. But Carter, do you remember of what game was it last year? It was Edmonton, and we got so bored during the live stream. Do you remember that last year? We were like, oh my God,
I think that was an Edmonton Saskatchewan game. Or was that Edmonton Ottawa? I can't remember. There was one game where we watched where I think both of us would have rather watched paint just dry on the wall. Yeah, I was so bored I actually was considering watching a soccer game.
And shout out to the Edmonton Oilers for winning Game 1 tonight.
Yes, bring it home to Canada. Bring it home. You know what? I'm not bummed if the Panthers win, as I like head coach Paul Maurice, former coach of the Winnipeg Jets. I love Paul Maurice. However, I'm very much hoping for Edmonton to bring the cup home to Canada.
Good, because then it's been since '93 since someone in Canada.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying is that if Florida won, it's not like the end of the world in the sense of if Vegas won, I would it curls my stomach hearing it. But we don't have to worry about that because their ass is golfing just like your favorite Winnipeg
just like
Jets.
Toronto.
But anyways, peace, love, and positivity, all you wonderful people at home, and we will see you guys at the live stream tonight. Goodbye.